My wife cheating on our 10-year anniversary. My wife, 35 female, and I were married 5 years ago yesterday. She has been working on a large project for many months. She has been working additional hours, staying late, and coming in early for the past 4 weeks or so in order to meet the deadline. This is a career-changing opportunity for her. I'm in the construction industry. Because of the weather, we've been working long hours attempting to make up for lost time. So I work 12 hours on beautiful days, occasionally a bit longer. I don't go in if it's pouring when I wake up. When it begins, we're sometimes sent home because it is too unsafe. I normally spend an hour or two at the gym. We began at 6 a.m. on Thursday, and it began to rain heavily by mid-morning. We're leaving. As usual, I head to the gym. I cut my exercise short and hurry downtown to meet my wife, Megan, to offer her flowers and, if possible, to make preparations for dinner that night. We haven't seen each other much this week. I went to bed at 9 p.m. Since she wasn't home, she had phoned earlier to say she was working late. This has been the case for the last month. I came to a halt, picked up some flowers, and walked inside her building at 12:30. Nishol was working at the front desk. I informed her that since I arrived later than expected, she may place the flowers on Megan's desk. I don't believe they went to lunch yet, so why don't you drop them off yourself, she replied. To return to the offices, she buzzed the door. The location was desolate. When I arrived at her office, the door was locked. Unless the receptionist informs me that she is in a meeting, I invariably stroll in. When I go in, a man is nuzzling her neck, and she is stretching back over his head. She is simply laughing because she can. We have to get this done, they say. I've been hit in the belly. I stepped out, slapped the flowers down, and yelled, "Happy anniversary." I didn't hear what she said. I simply walked by Nishol, said goodbye, and walked away. I made it to the elevators and out of the building when my phone began to ring. I cried my eyes out the whole way home. I went into the garage, retrieved my camping stuff from the rafters, and drove away. I traveled for almost 2 hours to a state park. I didn't know what to do. I had no choice but to flee. I walked a 3-hour trek on a path we'd been on before. I don't drink much, therefore I didn't have any liquor, so I just sat there thinking. In retrospect, I'm pleased I was in a hurry. Generally, I pack a fortified cal. We have black bears with me while I'm camping, which normally drive them away, but get hostile if there are hungry or young around. I may have eaten the barrel at night if I hadn't been feeling so bad. Megan was blowing up my phone, so I switched it off. I exited the park to get reception and got on the phone to check whether my dear buddy had phoned. I returned his call. He said that Megan phoned him to check on me and ensure that I didn't do something dumb. We chatted for a while, and I told him I needed to think about it, and we'd up on Friday. So, as I'm thinking about it, I looked through our marriage from beginning to end to see what I missed. We come from diametrically opposed backgrounds. My grandfather and my mother reared me. He taught me how to live my life. He had a comment for everything. He warned me that marriage would be the most difficult job I had ever had, and that you would have to work on it every day. I miss him so much. We didn't have much, and we overheard Mom and Grandpa arguing over expenses. They worked hard, and my brother and I did not miss anything we were aware of. Megan was born into wealth. Not extravagant, yet quite comfy. I went to a fantastic college. I usually wear nice clothing. I have a new automobile and so on. And she is really stunning, a 10 out of 10. If she coughed, I make a joke about the silver spoon becoming trapped in her throat. We met, hit it off, and began dating. Hi. Couldn't believe such a lady would ever be with me. We had been dating for quite some time before she informed me about her parents and way of life. We were dubbed the model pair by our friends because they believed we were so attractive that we had to be models. Families were not as understanding, fearful that economic inequalities might come into play. Her father and I began to get along, but it took some persuasion to persuade her mother. We intend to marry when she graduates and obtains her first job. We agreed that we would expose one another to our respective lifestyles. I took her white water rafting, she brought me to the symphony, we ziplined, we went to an art opening, and so on. We decided that we needed to get a sense of one another's interests. She was ecstatic with the additional active activities we undertook. I like symphonies and the like. I currently possess 2 tuxedos. I glanced back and noticed no red flags. Her first 2 jobs she resigned because the males were trying to get into her trousers. She was paraded in front for picture opportunities. When other newcomers were not invited to conferences, I was. A colleague attempted to get her intoxicated at a conference meal, then tried to push himself into her room at night. She resigned, then quit again at the next job. This third employment includes some female partners, and none of such nonsense exists in her company. She seemed to be quite joyful. We seemed to be quite joyful. So, now that it's Friday, I'm back at home. I dialed her number. When asked where she was, she said she was back at work. In attitude, I said that her marriage is taking a back seat to her profession. She said, what was she to do since I wouldn't talk? That's okay. She'll be there in 1 hour. So I sit and wait. I want to salvage our relationship. If I'm not contributing enough, I'd want to make up for it. Of course, I'd want to know why, but I'm not going to take a "I'm not sure" response. How do I put this? What else should I inquire about? I know I'll get upset and forget things, so we'll go over everything again and again over the next 3 days. What she did was bad, but please, no derogatory remarks. She is still my wife. Thank you ahead of time. Update. I'm tired, and I apologize for the horrible form that is going to occur. On Friday, my wife and I had a marathon conversation that lasted until late at night. I began by requesting that she be truthful and comprehensive in all of her responses. Do not give me half-truths that need many questions to receive a whole response. She concurred. I began with why? I'm not sure. Exactly what was anticipated. We went back and forth on this until I eventually asked, how many times did you have? I started to sidestep, but as I sighed and shook my head, she said 6 or 7 times. That got things began. I remained calm. How much time? Last 3 weeks. So what's the deal? I was unable to respond. Are you still in love with me? Yes. Are we saying it because we're tired of trying to rescue marriage? With considerable conviction, I say no. Are you attracted to me? True. Why? I'm still unable to respond. Am I not providing you with what you're searching for? She paused here, but swiftly recovered. I had a feeling I was onto something. However, I was unable to fracture the nut. Finally, after midnight, I was exhausted and she was sleepy, so I said, Megan, you are a clever lady. I can't believe you can't express why I'm asking. She began weeping and said that she was attempting to answer my inquiries. I said, enough for tonight. It's time for bed. I questioned where she was heading as she began to go toward the door. To my folks' place. This is our home, I assured her, and I'm not asking you to leave. At that time, she stopped weeping. We are neither divorced or separated, I said. That might happen, but for the time being, we need to stick together till we figure this out. We really slept in the same bed, not for, in case you're wondering. I'm up virtually the whole night. I'm looking over some of the comments in DM. I had some amazing comments and debates with a few folks. One told me that women generally marry up in social status, so we were out of the ordinary. Another suggested that I was right that I wasn't fulfilling something for her, but another said that there was a post a few days ago describing this scenario, but from the woman's point of view, asking what she should do. He couldn't locate it in the subs he searched, r/surviving infidelity and r/infidelity. So I went to Reddit, entered Megan's username, and looked over her history. Bingo. She was the one who made the post. So, bright and early this morning, we begin again. Why? I inquire. The same response. We go round and round. She becomes irritated. Then I ask, did this individual cognitively challenge you? Her expression was priceless. I see you read my post. For the general public, she detailed how she got the sensation, how they first kissed, how they had a make-out session in the hotel, and how she departed. After I went for work the next morning, she rushed over to the hotel to put a stop to it, then had. It went on at least until her posting, and I'm sure I found them a few days afterwards. She was also debating whether to go, but then realized that things were moving too quickly and that she needed to get away from this person. So I confront her with the fact that she thinks I'm a stupid. No, she was drawn to him since the project they are working on was his idea. She believes she is being passed over and that she has to step up her game. This stimulation resulted in the attraction and the rest. Now, I'm not sure. I knew she was honest because I knew her. Now that the floodgates have opened, we're having a terrific discussion about the subject. She needs a break about 3 p.m. She departs for her parents. So, as I'm writing this update, there's a knock on the door. Okay, I have to admit that I'm quite exhausted. Right now, Megan's mother appears. I inform her that Megan is on her way to their home. She is aware that she wants to speak with me. She has never visited our home on her own. She has never, as far as I am aware, spoken to me personally. She claims she is not here to persuade me and that she will accept any choice I make, but she insists on telling me her tale. I knew she'd been married before Megan's father. Her husband was the love of her life. There wasn't much. When she met her current spouse, they developed affections for one another. Before they cheated, she informed her first husband that they were done and divorced. Married a new man who had modest money but was a rising executive. A couple of years go by and I'm still unhappy because I made a mistake. The old spouse has moved on and is married. She becomes pregnant. Megan was really hospitalized when she became depressed. Repeat cycle 2 years later when pregnant with brother, then repeat cycle a few years later when sister is born. She is done having children. Everyone assumed it was postpartum depression, which it was, but it also coincided with her ex's decision to grow his family. She still knows where he lives, his children's names, and so on. She's never gotten over the fact that she had to leave the love of her life. She notices how I interact with Megan. She recognizes that she is my love. She witnessed how I took care of her when she left her first job. She stood up and walked away, saying nothing more. I realize this is a really lengthy sentence. Please stick with me, mods. There are a few items that need to be cleaned up. Much has been said about Megan's first 2 occupations. We weren't married yet, so many of you were there as she stepped off the aircraft and sank into my arms. Harassment is a genuine thing. Reported to who? The company's owner. She did the right thing and resigned the second job, which was more of the same. She left as soon as she felt uneasy. So to everyone who is criticizing her acts. Next, I requested decency in my treatment of Megan. Some just revealed there and spoke up anyway. I sought advice but was rebuffed and called names. Someone said that the helpful Reddit community provided excellent advice. That's what I call BS. They mostly gave insults, terrible language, and very little insight.